Hello everyone, good morning. Let's start our today's session. Before starting the today's session, let's have a quick recap of our previous session where we have discussed the multiple design patterns. So we'll see that one and then we will go ahead. So let's have a quick recap of multiple design pattern which we have seen yesterday. Yesterday we saw that there are different types of design pattern: creational, structural, and behavioral. In all these three types of design pattern, multiple design pattern comes. We saw MVC design pattern, we saw proxy design pattern, we saw how we can implement the proxy design pattern in just a summarized way using the interface. Then we understood the importance of proxy design pattern, why it is required. So one example is here, right? Then adapter design pattern, we saw what is adapter design pattern. This is the implementation of the adapter design pattern. And here we also saw in detail about the facade design pattern. And then we saw the multiple examples for the facade design pattern. So this google.com was the very good example for this facade design pattern. One, we have the template design pattern, right? Then we saw the decorator design pattern. So the template design pattern where the common functionality we're going to put into the interface, and that interface you are going to use into the class. And decorator is nothing but you are going to redefine the method based on your requirements. You are decorating the method, right? We have seen yesterday. We got some brief idea about multiple design pattern yesterday, right? Of course, if you want to learn in more detail, you can go through the complete OOPS app, a video course, which will be paid. Observer design pattern, we have also seen this observer design pattern, a brief idea about the observer design pattern. And today, let's go and see about the composite design pattern. So we'll just understanding the basics of multiple design patterns so that in interview we can tell something about this. So we want to leave the impression on the interviewer that we will be like we are having the idea about the design pattern. Generally the question comes like, have you used the design pattern? Do you know about the design pattern? Tell me some name of the design pattern and their basic understanding. So if you know this much, your work is going to be, your interview is going to be easy, right? Here, this composite design pattern, let's try to understand the basics of composite design pattern. Composite, this word composite stands for combination of multiple object, right? Composite means mixture of com mixture of multiple objects, mixture of multiple things. For example, if you talk about my gene, okay, if you talk about my behavior, my gene, it all depends on my precedence, right? My uh, my father, whatever my father is having the genetic property, my mother is having genetic property, right? The same genetic, the combination of genetic property is going to be there with me, right? And here my father is having his genetic property dependent on grandpa and grandma, right? Here also it is same thing, and this chain will keep on going, right? This chain will keep on going. So suppose if you want to traverse, suppose someone is willing to find my genetic property, right? Based on the genetic property, what the grandpa, grandma, here grandpa and grandma, right, of the corresponding father and mother is present, right? So this actually is known as a leaf node. The last node is known as the leaf node, and this is known as the root node. So if you want to find something about the root node, right, or intermediate node, and you already know the and you already having the information about the leaf node, then with the help of composite design pattern, what you can do that you can find the answer for the intermediate node or for the root node. What I mean to say over here, that if we have the idea about all the property of this, let's suppose I'm going to take one example over here. See here, this is one example, same for the composite design pattern. Suppose if you want to find the price of a computer, right? Suppose if you want to find a price of a computer. So one computer is made up of different parts, right? It will be having cabinet is going to it will be having cabinet, then it will be having the monitor, right? Cabinet is made up of hard disk and CPU. Hard disk is again made up of some raw material, some software, or different things are present there in the hardware. Hardware also consists the software, right? Some programming, some boot programming will be there in this hard disk. So suppose if you want to find the price of this root node, the computer, let me write it over here, the computer, this is your computer. So, and if you have if you have the price of all the leaf node, then it's very easy to find the price of a complete computer, right? So here, if you know the price of this raw material, software, this CPU, this motherboard, these all are the leaf node, the last node, sorry, here, RAM and graphics, right? So if you know the, if you know the, price of this leaf node, for you, it will be easy to find the price of motherboard, right? Motherboard is made up of graphics and RAM. So if you know the price of graphics and RAM, you can easily find the, price of motherboard. If you know the price of this motherboard, CPU, software, raw material, you can easily, you can traverse towards the root node, and you will be easily able to identify, you will be easily able to sum up the price of, you know, the immediate parent node, or uh, the the top root node, right? So this is what stands for composite design pattern. So composite design pattern is a way in which you are going to arrange your object so that you can traverse easily in order to find the complete value or complete information about the root node. Okay, because it is just design pattern is just nothing but it's just an arrangement, right? So you can see that here, this is how you will have to arrange your class. So this will be your root class, this will be your subsidiary class, again this will be again subsidiary class, so like that. If your class is like that, and if you want to find something about the root class, just you can traverse through here to here, here to here, here to here. So once you understand this example, it will be more clear, or just go through some internet blog, you will try to understand over there. Okay, there you can go and learn. So this is overall idea about the, composite design pattern. Strategy design pattern, this is again little complex, this strategy design pattern. So what is this strategy design pattern? So again, you can observe this word strategy, right? So when we listen this word strategy, something we are feeling like, very strategic, something we are going somewhere in very, somewhere we are going to do very big task where we have to take care of a strategy. Yes, it is the same. A strategy design pattern comes into the picture where you have very, where you have very complex task to perform. There will advance, you have to prepare your strategy, right? In well advance, you will have to prepare your strategy. Let's first see the Wikipedia definition of the strategy design pattern, and then we will go ahead. So the question in the interview, just I'm going to write it over here. Very rarely asked question. but just we are understanding the basics. Okay, you don't have to focus on this question, focus on those questions only where I have marked VVI. Okay, so if you have just 2 hours or 3 hours to prepare for the interview, just go through the VVA only, don't go all means all this concept, this is just for our basic understanding. So what is a strategy design pattern? Okay, so as per Wikipedia definition, it's telling in computer programming the strategy pattern, also known as the policy pattern. This strategy pattern is also known as the policy pattern, is a behavioral software design pattern that enables selecting an algorithm at runtime. Say, so it provides the dynamic behavior of selecting a particular method at a runtime, right? Instead of implementing a single algorithm directly, code receives runtime instructions as to which in a family of algorithm to use. So this is the strategy. I'm just trying to make you understand. Let's try to understand one scenario. Okay, just and then you will try to understand why we are talking about the picking of a method dynamically at a runtime instead statically. Okay, so that you will understand here. See, assume a scenario where you have to develop the code for multiple soldier, right? So you know that soldier can attack, soldier should have the refill functionality because they are going to have the different kinds of weapons, right? So if you have this spearman and archer, right? So spearman means ये भाला जो भाला से वार करता है वो spearman, right? This, and here the archer तीर धनुष. तो यहाँ here you can see that archer attack and refill, archer attack and refill. So what I did over here, I created one class called cl underscore soldier, and we defined attack as a method and refill as a method. Attack is our actual implementation method, right? This is the implemented method. But the thing over here is that what you have to understand, the way of attacking, right? The way of attacking for both spearman and archer is going to be different, right? The way of attacking. So the attack method over here also need to be defined, and here also need to be redefined. Refill method also here need to be redefined, and here also need to be redefined. So we created maybe one abstract class, right? This soldier we can create as abstract class, and this both method we can mark as abstract, and wherever it is required, we can come and redefine. But the problem over here is not this much. Just go ahead and let us see what is the problem. Okay, so here you can see that one another soldier we added called gunman. So for this gunman, attack and a refill, right? You can see that this attack and a refill, what is going to have the refill functionality for gunman is again going to be different than the refill functionality of, right, this here, this refill functionality of this soldier. So here also you'll have to redefine, right? Here also you will have to redefine. So if you both have marked as abstract, then in that case it's fine, you can redefine, right? You can redefine. But but just assume over here that this, you just assumed that, you know the attack, let's suppose this attack over here is like this. Just at this point of time, just understand that the attacking way of this soldier and the attacking way of this archer is same. They have to attack, so attack is, just assume over here, means just understand that context in which they are going to attack. Okay, the way they are going to attack, we are not talking about here. So if you are going to define the way they are going to attack, that will again become more complex, right? So making the things little easier, what we are going to do that, let's understand the way they are going to attack is same, but the way they are going to refill their weapons is going to be different, right? They don't have to refill their different. Here you can see that the refill is not required for this guy, right? For a spearman, why required a refill, right? For this person, a refill is required. For archer, refill is required. So here you have the problem, right? Here you have the problem. What is the problem we're facing over here? This person is not required refill. This person is required refill, but here this person does not. This soldier does not require the refill. So the first problem, this is one problem, right? You might have understood at this point of time. If you are going to put this method over here as a refill, both the class is going to inherit from the soldier. And when you are going to redefine, all right, redefinition is not required over here. For a spearman, refill is not required, correct? So unnecessarily you have defined the method refill over here, which is not required here. This is one problem. Second problem, you know, if your gunman is coming, right? Your gunman is coming. In that case, for gunman refill is fine, right? But again, if you are going to put some another soldier, for example, paladin means जो तलवार वाला वो करता है ना, तलवार चलाने वाला, right? Here, for paladin refill is not required, right? So unnecessarily again the refill is over here. Similarly, if you just keep on going ahead, then you can observe, for example, here you have the Iron Man. He is also going to attack, right? But Iron Man required one extra functionality because he is having the gun, right? This also it is having the gun. So gun may require the repair, right? So suppose if you want to have the repair functionality over here, correct? If you want to have the repair functionality over, either what you will have to do, you will have to put extra functionality repair over here, or suppose if you're going to put it repair over here, what the problem is going to have, the problem what you are going to have is that all the other subclass is also going to inherit this repair method unnecessarily, which is not required, right? So in order to avoid that problem where, right, at the super class, whatever the method we are going to give, that method not supposed to be inherited in all the class, right? So this is the standard functionality. If you're going to give this method, it is going to be automatically inherited. But what is the way, what is the workaround, what is the design pattern? So design pattern is nothing but it is a way to solve the commonly occurred problem, right? Repetitive occurred problem. So such kind of scenario many times you will come across. You are going to give, the method over here in the super class, which is not going to be used in your subclass, right? Because your subclass is having some different or some specific functionality, right? So similarly, if you are keep on growing your subclasses, the different kind of problem you will face in terms of method definition, you will have to choose those method which is not suitable for each one, and unnecessarily either you are going to uh, increase the load of your superclass, or if you don't want to increase the load of your superclass, you are going to create the separate method for your subclass. But just assume if we're going to have some another soldier which is again having the repair functionality, right? Then what you are going to do, repair here also you are going to define, and for that also you are going to define repair. So you are not able to use the, right, the benefit of inheritance, correct? You are not going to achieve the benefit of inheritance. So in order to achieve the benefit of inheritance, what actually we are supposed to do, all the functionality is specific to some set of particular class we are supposed to put into the interface. So see here, this is what actually it has been done over here. So once again come to this previous slides and here try to understand what the problem is going to have. So suppose repair, this is the Iron Man gun it is having, right? So Iron Man is using his gun, and because Iron Man is using his gun, he requires every time to repair his gun. right? So for this class, you require a repair. For other class, let's suppose you don't require a repair, only you require for this one. Okay. So in order to avoid this problem, what you can do that this attack is going to be same, this attack is going to be same, right? So the way of attacking, right, is fine. The attack method is fine over here. This attack is fine, but the refill here you don't require, correct? Refill here you don't require. Here you require refill. Refill here you require. Refill here it is not required. Here you require refill. Okay. So wherever refill is required, what you will do, with the same name or with the same context, you create one interface. Okay. So see here, if underscore refill weapon. So we created one interface refill weapon, and in this refill weapon, what we will do, we'll create a method called refill. And this interface we are going to use for this archer, because archer require the refill. For this gunman require the refill, and for this robot, this Iron Man also require the refill. So this interface you are going to inherit to this subclass. You are going to use in this subclass, right? And from here, from the superclass, you will remove the refill. Okay. Now, now, now you created one more interface for repair weapon, because this repair is required only for this. Or suppose in future if you have some another subclass, right, or another class where the so this Iron Man and this person, this robot, okay, this is actually robot. I was just telling that this is Iron Man, this is the Iron Man here. So Iron Man is also using the gun, and this robot is also using the gun, and both required the repair functionality. Iron Man is having the internal repair functionality, and this robot is having the external repair functionality, right? So what I will do that, I will create one interface, and in that I will put the method called repair, right? External repair and internal repair. So what will be having the benefit now, you are going to use the inheritance also, right? You are going to achieve the inheritance also. You, and here unnecessary load of the method is gone. Now unnecessarily you are just defining the method which is not used everywhere, right? So we are just separating the method in different interface, and wherever it is required to be used, just we will call those interface method at runtime. Okay. So by this way, just separating the behavior in a different interface, we are going to call those at runtime based upon our requirement. Okay. So see here, this interface repair weapon we are having, and if you just go to the Iron Man, see if underscore repair weapon, this interface is going to be inherited by both. Inherited means implemented by this Iron Man and robot, and this is going to be used by this. And by this way, this refill and repair problem, like just remove here we have removed. Okay. Here we have removed. So now the finally what you come across, so finally our our understanding is that we separated the functionality of refill. We separated the functionality of refill. Just give me a second. Just a second. Okay. So we separated the functionality of refill over here in this class if refill underscore weapon. So there can be so again you can see that the refill can be of two types. One is count based refill, right, for this archer. So now we are able to segregate also. So if you have the count based refill, right, we can define over here. If you have the time based refill, because in gun it is a time based refill, right? In gun the soldier refill their gun based on time, not based on count, because after a certain period of time their gun bullets is going to be expired. So here the time based refill, this can use the time based refill, and this can use at runtime count based refill. So one interface is created. In this interface you have the two methods, right? This repair weapon. In this interface, you have again the two methods. One is the internal repair, another is the external repair, right? So now when at runtime, when you are going to use this Iron Man, this class you are going to use, and when you have to call this repair method of this Iron Man, it's going to call the external repair. Okay, it's going to call the external repair. So that logic will be writing in the program. Okay, that logic it will be writing in the program. So this is little, like once you understand like how we can write in the program, it will make more sense. But here, just from interview point of view, understand that if you have the complex functionality, you are going to segregate in form of interface, and in that interface write the specific functionality, and at runtime you are going to call those specific functionality dynamically. Okay, so this is the understanding you should have. Strategy pattern conclusion. This comes under the behavioral design pattern, of course, right? Because we are just playing with the methods, right? Behavioral design pattern. In this pattern, class behavior or algorithm changes at runtime, right? Means you are going to select the particular method at runtime. Then in this pattern, class behavior or algorithm change at runtime, same thing. So let me remove this second, right? Okay, so hope you enjoyed this understanding, right? If you're not, you just go through the YouTube and all over there and search for the strategy design pattern. There are so many YouTube tutorial, and you know you can just learn from there. Identify the changeable variables and take it out approach, right? So this is the approach we have to follow, just we have seen over there. This is how in a program we are supposed to implement. So JCL underscore soldier is going to be your main class, right? And here you can see that these are the attributes, these are the private attributes of type ref2. This is the interface which we have defined over here, interface here, also interface, right? And this interface is going to be inherited by this class. Okay, so this is the this is how we are going to implement. Yeah, this one can be one good interview question. What is solid design pattern? Okay, solid, this is not a design pattern. In fact, this is the principle when we have to which we are supposed to follow while doing the development. So what is solid? So solid stands for, S stands for single responsibility principle. So what is the meaning of single responsibility principle? Meaning of single responsibility principle means one class, if we're going to define one class, that should be dedicated for only one thing. If we're going to define one method, that should be dedicated for only one thing. Like don't mix multiple things in one method. Okay. Suppose if you want to calculate the price of a material, so create one method called calculate underscore price, and just calculate the price only in that material. Don't do anything else, right? All the things related with price only you can do over there. But the things over here is to make the things atomic, right? To make the things specific. Okay, to make the things pointed towards only one vision, only one goal. So that's the meaning of single responsibility principle. Means don't do multiple work in one method. The benefit of this will be reusability. Whenever you require, to calculate the price directly, you can go and calculate the price, and maintainability also, right? So both will be improved if we're going to use the single responsibility principle. Open closed principle. What is this open closed principle? Okay, open closed principle means if you are going to design your ob if you are going to design your project, okay, you have some, if you got some project to develop in object oriented way. So what you have to do when you are designing your class, you are going to design multiple classes, right? Super classes, subclasses, multiple classes you are going to define. So at the time of designing, your design should be in such a way that it should be open for enhancement but should be closed for modification. Open closed principle means it should be open. You should be able to enhance your design, right? Your class can be enhanced, but you know, your class should not be modified. Means your design should be in such a way that it should be extendable but not modifiable. That's the meaning of open closed principle. Okay. Lisco substitution principle. The third principle is the Lisco substitution principle. This stands for actually when you have a sub class and if you have a super class, right? You have a subclass and if you have the super class. This is your subclass and here you have the super class. So what you have to take care over here, whatever the method you have used over here, that method should be perfectly suitable for the super class, right? That method is going to be perfectly suitable for the, you know, this subclass. So here see this design pattern which we were looking for, the strategy design pattern, it was violating the Lisco substitution principle. How? Because the problem what it was happening that when you were using the refill over here, right? When you were using the refill over here, so refill is only required for what? Refill is only required for this archer and for this gunman, or for, and for this robot. Refill is not required for what? This paladin and this spearman. So how the Lisco substitution principle is violating over here? The reason behind, if for this class repair is here, right? Repair is here. For this class refill is here. Okay. So suppose if you are going to put this refill over here, so it's there, right? So this refill is not applicable for this spearman and for this paladin. So it's violating the Lisco substitution principle, and that's why we came for, and that's where the solution is a strategy design pattern, right? Means whatever the method. So what we understood from the Lisco substitution principle, that means if you have a method in subclass, that should be perfectly suitable, you know, that should be perfectly adaptable for the, you know, super class as well. So you can see that here this refill is not perfectly adaptable for here this soldier, right? It is not perfectly adaptable. Why? Because if you put it over here this refill, it's going to create the problem for this paladin and this for a spearman. So unnecessary, right? Unnecessary, just we are increasing the complexity. So that's the meaning of Lisco substitution principle, that unnecessarily, you know, so if a method is there in a subclass, that must be perfect for the superclass as well, in such a way that everything should be there in the sync, right? So that's the Lisco substitution principle. Another is the interface segregation principle, and then the dependency inversion principle. Okay, let me do one thing first. I will first explain this first theory with the help of here what I have written, and then again we will go here and we'll see these two, right? So single responsibility principle, it is quite easy. Okay, iterator design pattern. Just a second. Okay, there are some more design pattern which was there called iterator and the prototype. We'll see this one later. Okay, let's first complete this. Solid. Okay, let's see some more fact about the solid. This principle was given by the author Robert C. Martin. He is also known as the Uncle Bob, and this principle was there in the 2000. Yes, Rajesh, you have any question? Rajesh, you have any question? You can ask. I've just unmuted you. If you have any question, you have just raised your hand. Uh,
Yeah, hello Pankaj. Just
mm, mm-hmm,
above one subclass and superclass.
mm-hmm.
So, can you open the slide, please?
Lisco substitution, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I just confused about it. Whether suppose I
Hmm.
want the method refill
Hmm.
in one of the subclass
Hmm. Hmm.
for archer it is not needed.
Hmm.
Sorry,
Hmm.
what for
Hmm.
archer it is needed, right?
For archer, see, this is
Refill is
archer.
needed.
Refill is needed. Yes, for archer,
And
refill is
archer
needed.
is a subclass, right?
Hmm.
So so if I want to implement that method, where should I implement, in the superclass or subclass?
Yeah, that's where the problem actually, right? So if you're going to put into the refill here in the super class, it is going to be inherited by all these classes, right?
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah. So refill is not required for this paladin, correct?
Yes, yes,
Refill is not required for this archer, correct?
yes.
Sorry, for this
Right.
spearman, right?
Mm.
So if you are putting over here, that is the problem.
Yeah,
So
so
it's a
we
yeah.
need to put the refill method in subclass only, not superclass.
Yeah, but yes, so that will violate your principle. You cannot put the refill method over here in the subclass because it's violating the, you know, uh, Lisco substitution principle when your design is going to be complex in future. Suppose here you have the gunman, right?
Mm.
And here you have this archer. So both refill is fine, right? For
Yes,
both
yes,
refill is fine. So currently suppose if you have requirement to implement the gunman class and archer class, so this design looks fine. But
yes,
when in future you have to implement a class called paladin, right? Paladin,
yes,
this
yes,
paladin, this class if
mhm,
you have to implement, but there unnecessarily you are going to inherit this refill, right?
yes,
Because for paladin this refill is not required, right?
yes,
So Lisco substitution is telling what, that if you have some subclass and if some method is there over there, it should be, it should be applicable for all. That means if refill is coming over here in this subclass, this refill should be perfectly applicable for all this, for this spearman also, for this, for this paladin also, means
but
it should
but
be. Yeah, go ahead.
suppose no,
Hmm.
I don't want to implement this refill method in superclass, but I want to implement. I can implement it in subclass, right?
Correct, and that's
If
where
we
the Lisco
implement
substitution is failing.
if we implement in superclass,
Hmm.
it will reflect in the all subclasses.
Right, it will be
So
reflect.
we have to implement only in the subclass, right?
Yeah,
So
but
is it that Liskov principle?
yeah, then you are violating the Lisco substitution, and for that purpose you have to go for the strategy design pattern in order to,
Okay,
you know
okay.
not violate the Lisco substitution principle. Okay.
So which is the best method then? Means where I can implement this refill method?
Create a interface
Okay,
here and implement there, and only you put that interface, you use that interface in this paladin. Okay.
okay, fine, fine.
So
Thank you.
no problem. Okay, so the single responsibility principle here. So the author was this Robert C. Martin. In 2000 he has given this principle, and then became, after around that Java and all, it was getting very popular around 2000, um, uh, like that. And there were so many problem getting occurred while development. So this was expert guy, like, a kind of researcher who came up with all this concept. So ACE stands for single responsibility principle and all what we have just discussed, right? O, we understood that open for extension and closed for modification. A, Lisco substitution principle. Objects in a program should be replaceable with the instance of their subtype without altering the correctness of the program. The thing which we just discussed, the same thing. Interface segregation principle. Instead of generic interface, we should have the specific interface, right? Means it is not like that in one interface you are going to put all the methods. So just you put the set of related methods in one interface. Like here, you can see that here we created one, you know, interface separately, if underscore refill underscore weapon. So there are two kinds of refill. One is external refill and another is internal refill, right? So Iron Man does the internal refill and robot does the external refill, something like that. So here it is more clear, right? So here robot is having this refill behavior, but robot is having the internal refill behavior, whereas for this Iron Man, this is having the external repair. So what it is telling that, you know, if something is related with repair, create one interface called repair interface. Okay, don't put all these methods together, you know. So here it's a, here we are having the refill interface and here we are having the repair interface. So both are the segregated functionality, both are the separate functionality. So create one interface for refill and create there the separate method. Here create one repair interface and here create the separate method, right? So this is actually means you are segregating your methods in a group, right? In a separate. The thing is here we don't have to mix. That is the meaning of interface segregation principle. Okay, so you are going to means their repair and refill don't put together, both are different functionalities, so create the different interface. So that is the interface segregation principle, and here it's a dependency inversion principle. Depend on abstraction, not on concretion. So what it is telling that, no, suppose let me try to explain this one with the help of example. This dependency inversion principle, this is the open closed. Okay, and this is the Lisco substitution principle. All the design pattern I have covered very much detail in my uh, the OOPS app course. You know, there you can go and understand very well. Here it's not possible to explain in much detail. Bridge design pattern. Okay, some design pattern it became here and there. No problem. When to choose the bridge design pattern, bridge implementation, real time mediator. Okay, so this is your dependency inversion principle. Okay, so the first four we understood of the solid principle. S for the single responsibility principle, O for open for, you know, enhancement but close for modification, I for interface segregation principle, right? L for Lisco substitution principle, and D for dependency inversion principle. So what it is telling that you are not supposed to inherit the concrete class. Okay, the overall meaning of this dependency inversion principle means you are not supposed to inherit the concrete class. Better, if it is required, you know, then you inherit the abstract class or you inherit the interface. That is the better way. Okay, means it is telling inherit the abstraction, don't inherit the concretion. See here, it is a object A and it is a object B. Why to inherit the concrete class into another concrete class? This is actually the main point, dependency inversion principle, right? Dependency inversion principle. Okay, so that's the whole soul. One should depend on the abstraction, not concretion. One should depend on abstraction, means inherit the abstraction, inherit the abstract class. Why to inherit the, you know, concrete class? So the complete meaning of dependency inversion principle is that much. That is the crush, that is the nichore. Okay, that is the summary of this dependency inversion principle. There are several other design pattern. I will not go in that. That is not required also from interview point of view. If you want to learn in more detail, you can just learn, but it is not required here. I'm just going to escape this, and these are some use cases. Let me delete also mediator design pattern. So you can see that there are so many design pattern, but I think we have discussed already 8 or 10 design patterns. So that is more than sufficient from interview point of view. Okay. This is important. This is important again from the interview point of view, where the very frequently asked, uh, let me clean this set of slides. Iterator also, remove this prototype. What is solid? We have seen. Fine. Bridge control framework. Okay. Control framework is important. In this control framework, generally you will be asked the question like, they will be asking what are the different types of controls with respect to SAP GUI, right? So there are two types: application control and container controls. Okay. Then they may ask about the control framework. Okay. Control framework. So in control framework, actually there are two methods which is very useful, and we use a lot those methods. If you have done the module pool programming, right, you would have used that dispatch and flush method, right? So we'll understand. So those two are important. What is the use of flush method and what is the use of dispatch method? But in order to understand those concepts, you will be having some basic understanding of control framework. So what is this control framework and why it is required? So everything here in this world, in order to improve the performance, whatever you can see, whether the development of computer or whether the development of mobile phone or whether it's a aeroplane or whether it's anything, just to have the better user experience, right? Just for ease of life, everything towards improve the performance, right? This programming also in order to improve the performance. Now in programming itself, we want to improve the performance. So for that purpose, the control framework comes into the picture. So where it comes into the picture, that the 3-tier architecture, right? GUI, then application server layer, and then we are having the database layer, right? This is the 3-tier architecture. Now, what happens that when we are going to write some code, where we are going to write the code, we are going to write the code over here, right? In the GUI code, writing functionality is given over here in GUI. Here we are going and we are opening SE38. When we open the SE38, one screen open, and there we write the code. Okay. And the execution of code happens on the application server layer, right? Or syntax check and all those things happens on the application server layer. And that on the database, what happens, we store the data. So if you have to fetch the data, we are going to fetch the data from the database, right? In these all are the connected through the network, right? These all are the tied with the network. Now what happens that, suppose here on the application server layer, you are going to perform so many functionality. Suppose you want to display 10 messages, right? Suppose if you have a program and in that program you want to display 10 messages, right? So now all the 10 messages should be displayed at the end of the program, right? If you are going to display one by one, one by one, one by one, it will be a time consuming, right? So again, it depends on the requirement, but here the requirement is in such a way that, right? Here, suppose, let's suppose you have to display one ALV, right? You have to display one ALV. So when you have to display one ALV in ALV grid control, if you have observed, all the data is not going to be loaded in one go, right? Why? Because we use over there the ActiveX control, right? All the data is not going to be present there in one go. The reason behind that, but all the data will be there in the automation queue. Okay, in the automation queue. When another next set of data we require, the data is going to be pulled from this automation queue. and going to be shown on the SAP GUI layer. Why in all go everything we are not going to display, just in order to have the better user experience and to improve the performance. Because if you are going to display everything in one go, that is not required also, right? We generally don't see everything. We require some few set of data or on the screen which is visible. That much is only going to be useful. So considering that particular fact, they the SAP came up with the concept called control framework. So if you have to send the multiple messages to this presentation server, you are not going to put all those messages in one go. First, they are going to put in the automation queue. This automation queue are present in application server and this, presentation server, both this automation queue. So from here, it will go here and one by one, it's going to be, displayed over here. So now the story starts like this. When you write the module pool programming, okay, when you write the module pool program, after the PBO there are two methods. Okay, one is the flush and another is the dispatch. They are supposed to be automatically, trigger. So if you're not going to write your logic, okay, if you're but why those method? Those method are for the purpose of forcing, for the purpose of, so let's first understand for the flush, CL underscore GUI underscore flush. First we'll understand this one, CL underscore GUI underscore flush. So CL underscore GUI underscore flush, you can understand flush over here. Flush means something you are, something you are forcing to move from here to there. Flush. So suppose before end of the PBO, so all the screen is going to have PAI and PBO, right? All the screen is going to have PAI and PBO. Automatically after PBO, the data is going to be flushed. But suppose at PAI itself, you want your data need to be flushed. In PAI, you have written some code, right? And that PAI itself, some message you want to display by writing the code in the PAI of a screen, right? But but the flush, when it is going to be triggered by control framework itself, when the PBO is going to be end. But code where you have written your code inside the PAI, right? So suppose if you want to display some message, right, in the PAI itself, you have written some code in PAI itself, and that you want to get it executed and want to get the message on presentation server on SAP GUI screen, right? So automatically that will not appear, right? So there forcefully will have to write CL underscore GUI underscore CFW, and the static method, that is the flush method. Okay, so equal and greater than sign you will have to give, right? And that you will have to call. So if you're going to call the flush method, what it's going to do, that it's going to force before calling the PBO itself, and it will flush that message towards your SAP GUI, and you will be able to see that message. Okay, so very very important, very very important, and very frequently used. If whoever is experienced over here, you might have, observed its power, and you would have used so many times the CL underscore GUI CFW, CL underscore GUI underscore CFW flush method, and CL underscore GUI underscore CFW dispatch method. So flush we understood, right? In the PAI, if you want to display some message, or if you want to pass the message from application server to, here the presentation server, based on your requirement, right? It means before calling the PBO itself, if you want to force that message to the presentation server, then we are going to use the flush method. So in very concrete way, how we will give the answer, how you will give the answer for the, this is important. So I'm just putting a little more stretch over here. So your answer should be something like this. Okay, CL underscore GUI underscore control framework, CFW control framework flush method. What is the use of this? So you'll have to tell when you want to pass the message or instruction. Okay, message or instruction before the PBO call, before the PBO call of the screen, we can use the CL underscore GUI underscore CFW flush. So this should be your answer. Okay, if you're going to use this method, it will force the instruction to display on the GUI. Okay, now what is dispatch? Dispatch is also more or less same, but that is related with event handler. So if you want to trigger some event handler method based on your requirement in the PAI, okay, so here you are passing the instruction, right? And this method CL underscore GUI underscore CFW, and here you'll have to tell flush, and other one is dispatch. Okay, very important, very frequently used in day-to-day development of the module pool. Okay, generally this is person who is working in module pool nowadays, it has been very less, it's getting less and less due to uh, UI5 and all, but still this is significance. Okay, dispatch. So when you want to trigger your uh, event handler method, event handler method before PBO call, right? So of course, this event handler method should be your application event handler method, not the system event handler. There are two types of event handler method, right? One is the application event handler. There are two types of event actually. One is application event and another is the system event. If your method is the system event handler method, then for that you don't have command with you. The system will take care of that. You will lose your command. But if you have the application event handler method, then that you can command. So whenever I'm talking about this event handler method, this is nothing but our application event handler method. So when you want to trigger your application event handler method before PBO call, then you know then you can use this CL underscore GUI underscore CFW. So based on your requirement, you can directly call this and it will trigger that event handler method, right? So it will actually interrupt the flow. Okay, because directly whenever you are going to write this particular statement in your program, you have to directly jump towards the event handler method, right? So if you just remember two important words, just remember two important words before the PBO. In interview you remember before the PBO, right? And if it is the flush, just tell that you have to send the message. So before the PBO, if we have to send the message to the presentation server, then we are going to use the flush method. Before the PBO, if you want to trigger the application handler method, right, application event handler method, then you have to use the dispatch. So before PBO, this is important, right? This is important. So for dispatch, just remember when you want to fire the event handler method, and here when you want to fire some message, some instruction, right? So this is what you will have to tell. And this is overall architecture, not necessary, but let me try to explain this one also. This is application server, right? And here you are having control framework, and on the presentation server you are having the automation controller, right? So this is how we are having the complete framework. Here you have the control framework, and here you have the automation controller. This is the presentation server, and if you have something like some control like text edit control and all, right, here we can use that one. This is going to send the messages in this text edit control. If you're going to write something inside the text edit control, and if you click on the save button all, right, the to and fro communication happens using the control framework, right? So this is about this, and if you have any question, just feel free to discuss. If you have any question related with this flush and dispatch, this is very important question, this flush and dispatch, right? If you compare with the design pattern and all, like this one is the more frequently asked than those, as per my experience. Okay, fine. So anything else, Rajesh, you want to discuss anything? I have unmuted you, Rajesh.
No, 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 no.
Okay, okay, fine, then you can, yeah, lower your hand. Fine. So I think for the oops app now we are done. What is left? What is the different techniques for displaying the ALV? How much this is important from the interview point of view? What is the different techniques displaying ALV? Okay, Rajesh, again, do you have any question, Rajesh? Yeah, Rajesh, I have unmuted you, Rajesh. Just go ahead.
So, do we have all these oops concepts in your YouTube videos?
No, 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 not in YouTube videos. That
Yeah.
is the paid course, and that if you want, you can subscribe. You will have to buy this
Okay.
one. Yeah,
How much will be the fee?
yeah, that I will let you know. Okay, you can ping me personally, whoever is willing to take that one. So here, can you just let me know here, like what is the different techniques displaying the ALV? Is it what's your experience? Whoever is the experienced person over here, like have you come across such question like what is the different techniques displaying for ALV? Then we'll discuss this one. Okay, and then ALV using the object model. Okay. I don't think so. This is splitter control, docking container, they ask in the interview. Just from knowledge point of view, if you want to learn, you can just go and learn. Okay. So let's do one thing. I'm going to remove this, all these things, slides. This flush and dispatch is very important. Okay. This also. And today we are completed with the oops app interview questions like oops about VVI important interview questions, right? And wherever I have marked the VVI, those only are really VVI. Other you can just ignore, just for understanding or some basic understanding we have discussed. Okay, so this is one VVI, and here this is the VVI. And from tomorrow onwards, we'll start with the ALE idocs or ABAP on HANA. Okay, so just let me know which you would like to get a start with, ABAP on HANA or ALEI docs or something else. Like we are here in the agenda, ALEI docs, ABAP on HANA, workflow, and then one more OData. Okay. So my slides are ready for ABAP on HANA and ALEI docs. For workflow and OData I have to prepare. Okay, so two options we have, ALE idocs or ABAP on HANA, whichever you feel. This one, we can start from tomorrow. Just let me know over here so that I will get mentally prepared and we can start from tomorrow. Okay, you can just write your suggestion over here, what we can start tomorrow. Okay, so ABAP on HANA, we can start from tomorrow, and once ABAP on HANA is going to be completed, then we will go for the ALE idocs questions and answer. Okay, with this, let's stop over here, and tomorrow we'll be having the interview questions and answer, because today also we got little late. Tomorrow we'll try to keep for half an hour like that, and then we'll be having the interview. Anything if you want to discuss, I'm going to unmute everyone over here, and you can just discuss.